Hi everyone, my name is Tim Obiso. I'm from Brandeis University, and I'll be presenting our paper, Semantically Enriched Text Generation for QA through Dense Paraphrasing. So this work is addressing a couple problems with the use of large language models. Large language models are very high performers on a lot of different tasks, linguistic and non-linguistic. However, that comes at a cost. They are not as efficient as smaller models due to their very, very large parameter size. They also tend to have lower performance on longer context tasks. Even if this context tends to be irrelevant, the addition of large amounts of text does lower performance, even if it is a task it could handle given less or different context. And a third problem is that LLMs may know the answer, but some of these older tasks and even newer tasks in general may not pick up an LLM response as a correct answer due to the format or the way that the LLM is answering it. So this work proposes dense paraphrasing, which is a way to pre-process the text using semantic, specifically anaphora or semantic role information from the text itself. So this is a form of semantic enrichment on the original source text. So it is not adding any unknown information to the text, but it is reinserting it at key points throughout the context to, in a way, prompt the model to refer to this information for specific uses more. And so from our example here, we could see this is an example of the anaphora and co-reference DP, where your and the American have the original reference name next to them to not provide new information, but provide that information again where it might help a model perform the question answering task. We evaluate this using the COCA dataset, which is conversational QA. This involves a short passage of context and then a series of up to 25 questions. These questions can build off of each other. So question 5 may ask a question that requires no context, but question 6 may ask a question referring back to question 5. And so the continuation of context is required for the model to answer the next question. If all of these were presented in isolation, the model wouldn't pick up on the references or what's going on. So this was the data set we chose to evaluate, can this be an effective text pre-processing intervention on a task that is going to require this longer context and is also using a set provided context. So the way that we perform these two forms of dense paraphrasing is using two available models. We were focused on efficiency here, so we wanted to not use large language models for this step. And so for anaphora and co-reference, we use an available spacey co-reference model for English. And we then reformat the text so that every second occurrence and on of a co-referential object has the name of the first occurrence next to it. So I jumped, if that was about me, would turn into I, Tim, jumped. Semantic role labeling is done in a similar format where the role is placed next to the word. And this is done using the VerbNet parser, which is based off of the VerbNet project from the Unified Verb Index. And this is a large linguistic resource of different verbs and their roles. And so we identify the verbs in the sentence and then fill in any semantic roles that might be present within that sentence. And we experiment with using these different types of dense paraphrasing as a first form of intervention against the LLM, in a way, a form of text pre-processing. So here are some longer examples of this. The anaphora and co-reference DP has the added information put into it. So it does lengthen the text based on how often this information is occurring. And of course, anaphora and semantic roles are everywhere in text. So it will increase the length and the token count, but it also does increase the performance in a way that's similar to increasing of model magnitude. So we find that this trade-off is worthwhile based on our results. And so these are two examples of the different types of dense paraphrasing we are applying. Here's an example of our prompt. One of the first stories for the COCA dataset is from the children's stories subset and is about a kitten named Cotton. And so our prompt format was to provide the context, and then every question which has been answered so far, we provide the answer to it with the question, and then the question they are supposed to answer before a final instruction set. And this instruction prompt is meant to have the LLM fit more towards how it's going to be evaluated and how COCA is being scored, which is based on exact match and F1. So we found that not including a prompt like that did not help performance, and including it did help it conform to the expectations and show its true ability on this task. So our experiments were done under the following conditions. We performed inference without in-context learning. So there were no few-shot examples besides the already provided questions as examples of how to answer the question. And we also did not perform any fine-tuning. We just used the models as they were provided. And the instruction prompt, as I mentioned before, is meant to wrangle the LLM a little bit and have the text output in the form that we would like to. And our final evaluation in our main experiment was a comparison of these different DP methods across model sizes. So we evaluated Llama 3, the 8B and the 7DB versions, and we found that throughout the different subgenres that for the smaller model, semantic role labeling improves every metric from our baseline with this same prompt. And for Llama 3, it improves in all except for exact match for literature. We could see that the anaphora and co-reference DP did improve in some metrics, but these improvements were not consistent across the testing space. One other thing of note is that these improvements from no DP to using DP are similar and sometimes even of a greater magnitude than moving from the 8B to the 7DB model. And so this is one way that we might encourage more use of linguistically informed text modifications in that it is a boost to your efficiency. If you can gain this boost in performance without needing a much larger size model, then that's something that we would definitely want to encourage. We also compared question results across the task. And so from the first question to the 25th question, here are the F1 and exact match scores. We could see that even though these scores are slightly boosted for the versions with DP, especially SRL DP, the accuracy, sorry, not accuracy, the F1 and exact match score does still degrade. So we are not able to fully alleviate the problem of context decreasing effectiveness. But this kind of linguistic information does seem to help it perform better for longer. This isn't uniform across every question, but for SRLDP, we could definitely see those scores are higher for longer, and the final scores show that as well. Here's an overlay of the 3 different results. So we could kind of see the results that are always met from the darkest color and the highest possible results from the lightest color. So there are definitely is room for improvement even on the highest performing model across the question set. but this does offer a significant improvement across not using DP. For the 7dB model, we do see a similar thing. We see an improvement off of not using DP at all. And similarly, we see the kind of best performance is improved based off of the performance that they all reach. And when we're looking at them all together, we could see that, as I mentioned before, the performance of the best version of the DP enhanced 8B model offers very similar performance to the non-DP enhanced 7dB model. So this exchange of linguistic information, this enrichment of linguistic information is a much more worthwhile venture than running a larger model for very linguistically informed tasks. And we could see from the baseline, there is an improvement from improving in either method. And if efficiency or resources are a constraint, the version of enriching the text through dense paraphrasing might be more realistic. So from using the dense paraphrase enriched text, we are getting more correct answers. There were answers that were incorrectly answered and are now correctly answered. In addition, we do get more answers that are being recognized as correct. Answers that the LLM may have just gave an explanation to the answer, even though it should not have, and it was marked incorrect for that. The indication that DP is there and the more examples of it from the previous questions with the DP enriched context have the effect of having the answer that we are scoring being more in the shape that we would like it to be, and therefore showing the true model's capability. One thing that we would like to highlight is that we found DP is best an enrichment when it's suited to the task at hand. The tasks that we evaluated on conversational question answering and the questions here were very related to the best type of enrichment we saw. Many types of the questions were answered by semantic role information, where the question may ask, what did someone eat? And the model would just need to then find the theme of that agent eating, for example. And so while not every type of dense paraphrasing showed the same improvement, we can understand that targeting this kind of pre-processing to the task at hand is going to be more likely to show an improvement. Some common errors that we saw were sometimes the LLM may just reason incorrectly, it may answer the question incorrectly, or it may miss the context from a previous question. For our human evaluation scores, we see that even if the scoring of the model is not picking up on everything that the model is producing, a human evaluation score can see that there is still some improvements in performance from no DP. So even the anaphora and co-reference DP, while it may not be wrangled in the way it is getting a high score on EM or F1, it does have some marginal improvement from the first 30 QA sets that we performed human evaluation on. But SRL-DP, as it's more targeted, outperformed this as well.
Thank you, Timothy. It is about time. Can you please conclude?
Yes. And so for our future directions, we believe this is the first of many types of semantic and task-targeted linguistic enrichment. And we would also encourage combining dense paraphrasing with other techniques like fine-tuning or in-context learning. And thank you.